There's been a lot of controversy at this year's Olympics, but did you know it's actually upsetting people for very different reasons? Today, I'll be talking about the often overlooked impact of the Olympics on chronic illness sufferers. While the Games are celebrated for their athletic achievements and inspiring stories, they can also evoke feelings of sadness and inadequacy for those that are battling with long term health conditions. So while I was browsing Reddit last week, I came across an interesting discussion in one of the chronic illness forums. Um, was somebody had posted the question if anyone else feels sadness from watching the Olympics like they did, and I'd like to share a few quotes from you from that. I did gymnastics for 10 years and figure skating for 4. I had to quit gymnastics because of how bad my joints had become, and I quit figure skating last year when I developed POTS. It hurt watching the gymnastics because I always had a dream to get to the Olympics, and my sports were the only things that made me feel happy and free. I was pretty highly ranked in a combat sport once upon a time and had Olympic goals. I'm not sure how realistic they were, but I still can't watch that sport anymore. It seems so unfair that so many people can have so much energy and yet I can't even vacuum my floors without crashing for weeks. But I guess you could say that about anything unjust in the world. Still, I can't help but sometimes feel incredibly jealous of all the things they can do. So, as you can see, watching the Olympics isn't always a positive thing for those of us that have had to give up dreams due to chronic illness, disability, or an injury. And as I was reading more comments, it became apparent that some people really just can't watch the Olympics at all because it hurts so much. And I can totally understand how those people feel. Um, while not sport related, I had to also give up dreams. And I have absolutely felt those feelings of jealousy and anger towards those that can do the thing that I can't. And I've also had to deal with those horrible feelings of feeling inadequate about what I could do. But some were looking forward to the Paralympics and they found that it brought them comfort and it was good for them to see others with problems like their own succeeding in their own sports. To quote one of those comments, I'm so excited for the Paralympics. Seeing world champions get on the podium with electric wheelchairs at last year's World Cycling Championships proved to me that getting an electric wheelchair in itself is not giving up. Did you ever have to give up a dream of competing in sport? Or perhaps you had to give up a completely different dream? If so, tell me about it in the comments. On a more positive note, I'd like to share some highlights from an article I read recently about the American athlete Kathleen Baker. She was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at the age of 13, and she has actually competed in the Olympics in swimming and has gone on to win 2 Olympic medals, gold and silver in Rio. I think you'll be able to relate to her story. When Kathleen Baker was 13, she googled Olympic swimmers with Crohn's disease and came up short. There wasn't anyone, no one for her to read about or model her path after. She wondered if her dreams were over. Crohn's disease, which causes inflammation in the digestive tract, can lead to extreme stomach pain, left Baker exhausted. She would find herself too fatigued to finish a swim practice. How could she ever make it to the Olympics with a chronic illness weighing her down? Baker did become an Olympian, winning gold and silver medals at the 2016 Rio Olympics, and it would be tempting to wrap her story up neatly in that bow. But the truth about the path she took to her dreams is that it is littered with blood tests and fatigue and immunocompromising drugs that managed the Crohn's but left her vulnerable to other illnesses. There was a broken rib from low bone density. There was a time she was in the hospital for 2 weeks, sick with pneumonia. There was the mental burden of not only wanting to be the best in the world, but wanting to be the best in the world while knowing that she will be some level of sick forever. Society tells us that much of our worth is tied up in our bodies, in what they look like, what physical feats they can perform, and how far we can push them. But chronic illness forces you to make a choice. Look at your body differently, as something that is imperfect, or spend your entire life mourning what has been left behind in the land of health. For chronically ill athletes, it can be a tightrope walk to figure out how to push their bodies while respecting the limits of their diseases. The logic of athletics can be straightforward. The thinking goes, if I train more, I'll be faster, I'll be better, I'll win more medals, Baker says, but her condition complicates it. When she was first diagnosed, Baker had difficulty reading her body's cues for when she was approaching her limits. As I've gotten older, I've been able to read my body a little better, she says. Like, hey, today I'm going to be able to push myself to the end all brink of my physical effort and be okay. And then there's some days where I'm already not feeling well, and if I push myself to the end, it's not going to benefit me. Instead, she could find herself in what people in the chronic illness community call a flare, which is when symptoms worsen. When Baker feels a flare coming, having an open conversation with her coach about her limits helps. She may swim aerobically during practice instead of racing as a way of balancing the need to go easy with the desire to train. Finding that balance is not always possible. She has had to miss meets due to flares or complications, and managing her Crohn's related fatigue remains a struggle. But there's something else too. I have a lot more joy in my sport than most people do, she says, because I feel like I could lose it. In my own life, I have found that reading my body and how I feel every day has really benefited me, especially when it comes to exercise. I think what Kathleen has been able to do for herself is fantastic, and I see her as a real inspiration to others. I really like that she has shared her story but been realistic about her struggles. And I'm sure what she understands about her body is going to help her deal with her illness in the years to come. I'll put a link to that article in the description below. It's a really interesting read, and it actually goes on to talk about other sports people. Some people have a diagnosis of an illness and some don't, and it's all about how they're dealing with their illnesses day to day and how they're dealing with their illnesses in sports. So I encourage you to definitely read that. If you've got value from watching today's video, please leave it a like and subscribe to my channel. I'll be putting out more content about chronic illness, disability, injury and inability. So take care, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye.